Left, Agent Philip Burnell of the DEA, and of course our County Sheriff, Eric Weekneck. I'm very thankful that they are all here today, and I want to thank them because this was a team effort, and all of their members of their respective teams assisted in this investigation and assisted in this takedown yesterday of this organization. This investigation began in September of 2021 when we had a horrendous opioid outbreak of overdoses that occurred in Berks County. And those overdoses were concentrated in the city of Reading. In one single weekend, there were over 100 overdoses, which resulted in those individuals being hospitalized with life-threatening symptoms from the overdoses, which was as a result of heroin, fentanyl, and other drugs, which I will lay out shortly. The heroin and fentanyl was tainted with a unknown substance, which we have now since identified. But it was referred to by a doctor from Tower Health, Dr. Santoro, a leading addiction doctor in our community, that this was a outright poisoning. At least 3 of those 101 overdoses resulted in deaths. And in essence, this poisoning caused low heart rate and high blood pressure. Narcan, which is normally utilized by first responders to reverse the effects of an overdose, was ineffective against these drugs that was in the blue packets, as we referred to them back in September, that were causing all of these overdoses. Through the lab tests that we utilized initially on those blue packets, those packets contain heroin, fentanyl, fluorofentanyl, clonidine, xylazine, and butazine, and I may have mispronounced that. My apologies. But the discovery of this vast amount of overdoses really pushed us to identify the ultimate source or sources of these drugs. The outbreak overwhelmed the hospitals in Berks County. And as a result, I issued a public health alert to our local and surrounding media outlets. And as a result, detectives from the Berks County Drug Task Force and the Reading Police Department immediately identified 3 points of distribution that were responsible for selling these quantities of tainted heroin. Detectives immediately, back in September, developed probable cause and raided the locations, arrested a number of dealers, and seized quantities of tainted heroin. And the investigation did not stop there, as we had promised at that time. And those initial arrests took place within 24 to 48 hours. But the investigation did not stop there, and law enforcement personnel from my drug task force, City of Reading Police Department, Pennsylvania State Police, and the DEA teamed up and launched an intensive joint investigation. During this investigation, detectives identified another, and I will not say another, an organization that was distributing large quantities of heroin, which was also the responsible source for the tainted heroin that was identified in September of 2021. Detectives identified Aurelio Carranza Sanchez, who resides at 119 North 3rd Street, Reading, as the main outlet for the organization in Berks County. He is depicted on the screen as we speak. As the organization progressed, other suspects were developed, which revealed a drug smuggling network that reached surrounding out-of-state sources. We have identified and arrested a number of those suspects, and I'll get into that further in this. But he was the ringleader, the main person responsible for those blue packets and for this drug ring. Detectives utilized a court-authorized wiretap as the primary tool in this investigation, and this wiretap began in December of 2021. Detectives identified 23 suspects that were active members of the organization operating out of 7 locations in Berks County that were utilized as points of distribution. Those locations are listed on our screen, and search warrants were executed at the majority of those locations yesterday during the raid. We have arrested 17 of those individuals to date. 6 remain at large, but again, as you will hear from me further, this is an ongoing investigation. Yesterday, in the early morning hours, over 100 law enforcement officers dismantled this major drug trafficking organization. The majority of these officers were from organizations who are here at this press conference, and other drug task force members, specifically from police departments throughout Berks County. Substantial amounts of controlled substances were seized, which included heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, and marijuana, with a street value of over $500,000. Some of that evidence is also depicted on the screen at this time. A large amount of U.S. currency, believed to be the proceeds from the drug sales, and 3 fully loaded firearms were also seized. If convicted, these suspects face a substantial period of incarceration, fines in excess of over $100,000, and potential penalties not only in the state system and potentially in the federal system. The success of dismantling this drug trafficking organization could only have been accomplished with the combined teamwork of local, county, state, and federal law enforcement agencies. In this case, in this situation, we reacted and stamped out the Berks County source quickly, but that does not mean the source has been totally eliminated completely. For our purpose, this is an ongoing investigation which will continue until we can stamp out what we believe is the ultimate source. And this ongoing investigation will take us, we believe, to other locations, including other cities and states. We promise, as we have promised previously, we will continue to investigate and prosecute these peddlers of poison in our community. And these peddlers of poison in our community resulted in a historically horrific weekend in September. And this investigation, while the fruits of most of it have been confiscated and most of the individuals have been arrested, it is an ongoing investigation. So at this point, I'll be happy to take any questions if you would have any at this time. Any questions?
I would ask the first guy on North 3rd Street, that's right across the street practically from Lowers Park Elementary School. Does that still carry extra penalties, or is that no longer a thing?
No. I mean, so you're referring to years ago when there was a school zone mandatory.
Right.
No, the school zone mandatory is not in effect. There can be some sentencing enhancements, but that is frankly, his involvement in this organization, we believe, should result in a substantial sentence. But the school zone mandatories are no longer in effect. Any other questions? Does anyone have anything else that they would like to add at this point? Okay, I want to thank everyone who came today, and I again want to thank all of the law enforcement in Berks County and the organizations that were involved in this great investigation. It was a lot of hard work and time by detectives from my office, members of the Pennsylvania State Police, DEA, Reading Police, Sheriff's Department. We all worked together, and that was really what led to a successful takedown of this organization. Thank you. And by the way, see my guys.
We could send this PowerPoint out to all the media.